do we have a fantasy star on our hands here, George? Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right, but I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who could move, right? You don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps to throw the football anymore because you want that additional rushing yards. You know, you get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown, right? That's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable, right? You go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But, you know, I do have hope for him. I think at season's end, he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low-end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time. I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, that hit. Remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people, the busters, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Wicked Wednesday has begun. We've got a lot of stuff to break down tonight. We got Paul Bovey in the house. We've got Brady Cannon in the house. Babano, Ian Cameron throws it down with us this evening. Let's start off, actually, on the National Hockey League ice. As we've got a couple of games coming up here tonight. One of them is a pretty good one. And, in fact, they both should be pretty good hockey games. Anytime you get rivals going head-to-head, including the Vegas Golden Knights and the Ducks. But let's start off with the Dallas Stars and the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings have been playing good hockey as of late, and the Dallas Stars are a top-tier elite hockey team coming off a close win against the San Jose Sharks the other night. Now the Dallas Stars at the Crypt in Los Angeles, they have actually owned the Los Angeles Kings over the years. They're 8-2 the last 10 times that they played, and it's that's a pretty one-sided rivalry over the years. 8-2, and 8 of the last 10 games that they played have gone under the number as well. The trend is our friend tonight in this hockey game. Give me the Dallas Stars minus 115 on the road in Los Angeles. The Kings have been a very good home team, which is something that they're usually not, actually. Right, the Kings have been better on the road over the past couple of years, but they've been pretty good at home this year. Dallas are a very good road team as well. So, like I said, the total's 5.5. We're just going to ride the trend here. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, and the Dallas Stars have beaten them 4 straight and 8 of the last 10 times that they played. We have a contrast in styles going on here at the Pond in the OC, Orange County, Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas just played last night, right? They played against the Edmonton Oilers. And in fact, last night's game, pretty wild. They didn't have a penalty in the game. They didn't have a single penalty in last night's game. Last night's game was like the first game since 1940 or something that had 1 goal and no penalties. There was 1 goal, 1-0 game. Vegas was coming off a 6-0 loss. So oftentimes in hockey, teams will bounce back after being humiliated. So they got shut out. Then they pitched the shutout last night, albeit a 1-0 hockey game. Now they're on the road tonight. Now it's a short trip, quick turnaround here for the Vegas Golden Knights against the Ducks, who I think the Ducks are scrappier than people give them credit for, actually. Right? If you look at the Ducks' record, compared to what the odds are in their games. And you're making money if you bet on every Duck game this year. They are a profitable hockey team because, people don't really know that they don't suck, right? The perception is that they're not very good, but they're a 500 hockey club, like point blank. They're a 500 team, right? They've got 10 wins, 10 losses, and 3 overtime wins, losses, and all that stupidity, whatever. They're 10-10-3. So they're a 500 team, yet they're big underdogs when they're on the road, and they're like plus 125 when they're at home all the time. They're plus 125 tonight. Vegas have beaten them, guys, the last 2 times that they played, but the Ducks beat them 3 straight times before that. And looking back at these two, and they play a lot, obviously, 6 of the last 7 games that they played against each other have gone under the 6.5 that's posted tonight. They played once this year already. And in fact, they played just recently, a couple of weeks ago, 3-2 in Anaheim. I remember that game. Vegas beat them 3-2. Last year, 3-1, 4-1. There was a 5-2, a 4-2, a 4-1. You notice they're kind of lower scoring games, and we got a total of 6.5 in this game tonight. I like the under of this game. And in fact, 7 of the last 10 times that these two teams have played, it's gone under the number. We have a contrast in styles here tonight as the Vegas Golden Knights are one of the top over teams in the National Hockey League at 16-9-1 to the over, although they played a 1-0 game last night. And the Ducks are one of the top under teams. I think they actually are the top under team at 15-6-2 to the under. Let's go a bigger play on the under 6.5 and a little sprinkle on the OC Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks. Why the hell don't you just call them like the Anaheim Angels? Like, think about that. Think about the lunacy. Just off topic here for a second. Think about the lunacy of this. You have 2 teams that play in the same place. Like, it's basically the same damn parking lot. All right, like, you know what I mean? Like, you've got so the Ducks are in Anaheim, but the Angels are in Los Angeles. You're both in Anaheim. And you know what? If I was the Angels, I would just call myself the California Angels and then, try to get the whole state, right? Get other people like they used to be called the California Angels in L.A. Come on. No one calls them the Los Angeles Ducks. They're not the Los Angeles Ducks. They're the Anaheim Ducks. They play at the Pond in Orange County. Anaheim, California. So we'll go under 6.5. So we've got some late night action going on the ice. Babano will join us later tonight. Babano's going to join us in level 2 this evening, and we'll get into this Four Nations Cup stuff that I hate to admit I'm probably a lot more excited than I pretended to be when they announced this thing. But when they announced it, we didn't know they were going to be playing in the Olympics. It was sort of like a replacement for the Olympics, right? But now this is just a little precursor for the Olympics. That they announced the rosters earlier in the day today. There's really no big time. Oh my God. Tage Thompson, not on the U.S. team, has raised some eyebrows. Nick Suzuki, I would say the most controversial topic of conversation in the Team Canada media world right now is Seth Jarvis. And people are wondering, why did Seth Jarvis make this hockey team? For the record, Connor Bedard did not come anywhere close to making Team Canada, which is not a good sign for him, actually. If you're not on this team, you're not going to be on the Olympic team next year. Like, that's what this is. This is a dress rehearsal for the Olympics next year. Like, these players are going to want to win this tournament, but it's not the be-all, end-all. No one's going to remember who won the freaking Four Nations Cup, all right, in a couple of years. We will remember who won the gold medal in the Olympics. So this is just sort of, it's a pre-tournament. They don't have a lot of time to get ready to play together. They're not going to be playing together in the summertime. Maybe they'll have like a little mini camp or something, but not very long. So this is a chance for the players to say, all right, this is sort of the team, and, we know what we're going to be doing next year. I can't wait, actually. We got the Olympics next year. And once again, we can bet on a bunch of sports we know nothing about. But, hey, we do that all the time, don't we? All right, so NHL hockey, give me the Dallas Stars minus 115, under 5.5. And Vegas Golden Knights and the Ducks. I'd have to say if there was one play that I like the most, it's the Ducks and the Knights to the under 6.5. The Ducks to the Knights and the Knights to the under 6.5. College basketball. Man, like, I tell you what, like, it was a little bit disappointing. We don't have college football until Friday night, and that's pretty cool. We'll get to that, obviously, but there's no more MAC games right now. We're kind of a little bit of withdrawals, man, like right now with the football. But college basketball stepped up and in big time. I mean, we had all these sort of holiday and, early season tournaments, the Maui stuff and this classic and that classic and the champions, this and that. We've had all kinds of stuff, but man, there's one every day. There's just these big time games. Conference play has started, non-conference games going on. Iowa State right now up a 10 spot on Marquette. This game under a minute left, so it looks like the Cyclones going to cover the 5.5 that they were led. We got a good one going on in Nebraska, Creighton and Kansas. Creighton are 3.5-point favorites right now over the Kansas Jayhawks. Total is 155.5 in game. It's 56-51 with 11.5 minutes left. Sparty beating up on the Gophers, but the big game that everybody's focusing in on right now, Duke and Auburn. We'll get you caught up to date with that on the other side and a lot more. Let's roll. This is Sports Rage.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on Sports Grid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I ain't ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency on the Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. Sirius XM, Channel 159. A lot of basketball going on right now that we'll track for you. And something that we really haven't gotten to much this year because we've been in football mode. But the Atlanta Hawks don't suck, actually. If you notice, the Atlanta Hawks have been balling, and they're balling right now. They're winning 108-95 over the Milwaukee Bucks. But Duke and Auburn is one of the big-time games going on. Right, listen, Kansas and Creighton's a big-time game too, but obviously Duke and Auburn, it doesn't get much bigger than that. Auburn were up big early. It was like 13-2 And the Duke Blue Devils have closed strong here at the end of the first half. They're up 43-36 right now. I didn't understand the total of this game, but I've never met an over I didn't like, right? So I'm looking at the total at 147, and it even came down. I didn't really get it between these two, like, sharpshooting teams and high-powered, there's too much athletes on the court here. Like, really? We're going to play into the 60s? No, right? They're going to get into the 70s. And it's on pace right now. In-game total is 160.5, so it's 43-36 for the Duke Blue Devils. And before we bring Brady Cannon in, I don't play a lot of unders when it comes to player props, but we played under tonight with Cooper Flagg. And it's one of these deals I caught on, being the hardcore degenerate that I am, a couple of years ago when I was betting Wembanyama when he was in France still. And because he's Victor Wembanyama, we all knew he was going to be the number one pick, and he's in the French league. And his player prop, like every game, was like 24.5 points. Yes, you can bet on player props in the French basketball league. So his prop was like 24.5 because he's a big star, but every game, like, he was scoring like 22, 19, 21, and he'd have like 15 rebounds or whatever too, but he wasn't dropping 25 routinely. And Cooper Flagg, same thing. Oh, Cooper Flagg's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. Let's make his prop so high. It was 19.5 tonight, guys. They played 7 games. Cooper Flagg has scored more than 20 points twice only. And tonight it was 19.5. I said, you know what? we're gonna play this until he proves otherwise. He's got 6 points so far right now. We're at the half officially, so he's got 6 at the half. So Cooper Flagg's got 6 at the half, 43-36 for the Duke Blue Devils. Let's bring in Brady Cannon, talk some football and some golf as we've got the Hero Challenge this week. Brady, always a pleasure. Good to see you tonight. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, my man. How are you? And I like what you're doing there with the Cooper Flagg player prop. I think in general, Gabe, that is just a good rule of thumb. When you have a star player, a Wembanyama, a Flagg, a LeBron, I mean, you name it. These guys, they are taking the majority of the action to the over and the yes. And so that the point spread, the number, point spread, what have you, whatever you want to call it, the number is probably inflated to begin with because the book knows they're going to take action to that side. And then you get that influx of action that props it up maybe another half point or two or what have you. So, yeah, I think, again, just in general, playing against human achievement, especially on those big stars, is a good way to go on the prop market.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And until they adjust, right? And we'll see when they eventually do. And if they drop it to 16.5, 17.5, we'll start to buy into the overs a bit, right? But you got to attack this. And exactly, I get it. He's a great basketball player, but he's also a kid. He's under a lot of pressure, and he's missing a lot of shots. Like he's not playing great right now. He's still figuring things out. But what an era we're in right now. I mean, I saw Brady. They were talking like LeBron. He was at the U.S. like the camp and stuff like before the Olympics, and like Kevin Durant's a hard ass. Kevin Durant pulled him aside and said, "Bro, I never seen anything like this." He goes, "You're unbelievable." Like he told him like you could play in the NBA right now, and LeBron pulled him aside and told him you're something special, kid. Like wow. And now, Brady, we're 7 games in, and because he's not dropping 30 a night, they're already talking on ESPN. Is he still the number one pick of the draft? I don't know if he's still the number one pick. He's played 7 games, guys, right? But that's the world that we're in right now.
Too. Duke is all the way to number 4 in the Ken Palm rankings, and I think not that long ago they were top 10 if you look at the start of the season and what have you. I think they were inside the top 10, but maybe 8, 9, something like that. They're already to number 4. And by the way, their opponent tonight, Auburn, is number 1. So certainly a good matchup. And yeah, Duke is on the rise. Took care of Arizona not too long ago, who suffered a couple of bad losses recently, by the way.
Listen to Brady dropping Ken Palm rankings on us, supposedly the golf guy. Dropping Ken Palm. Next you're going to start talking Jeff Sagarin. You got the Sagarin ratings too?
No, I'm not that far advanced. But you know what I did? It was actually 3 weeks ago. I always take a look at Ken Palm, and I kind of try and handicap the handicappers, if you will, right? And so I'm looking at his rankings. I'm looking at his metrics, and I picked out 4 teams that I wanted to bet college basketball futures on. I took North Carolina. They've kind of dropped. I took Arizona. They've certainly dropped. I took Texas A&M. They have kind of stayed, level par, if you will. But the one I really knocked it out of the park on so far, none of these are good bets unless they win, but I got the Oregon Ducks. And this was 3 weeks ago. I just looked at it today. November 18th, I bet the Oregon Ducks at 150-1 to win it all. And I checked today what their number was, and it was 60-1. And they're, I think, 21st in the Ken Pom rankings. All four of my teams are inside the top 30 in the Ken Pom. And when we get to March, Gabe, you know how it is. If you've got four guys that are all in the top 30 in the rankings, they probably all have a decent shot to go all the way.
Brady Cannon kicking with us. Auburn right now are they're actually both the co-favorites that are playing head-to-head right now, guys. Auburn are plus 900, Duke are 10-1 to win the championship. My Michigan Wolverines, Brady, really playing some good basketball to start the season as well. And, don't forget, Dusty May, the coach, had big success. He took FAU to the Final Four. So if you can take FAU to the Final Four, don't tell me you can't take Michigan to the Final Four. And there's like 3 players from the FAU team on Michigan, right? And he's done a great job with the transfer portal. Michigan, big-time number, guys, as well, 50-1 right now on the Michigan Wolverines. And this number's only going to drop, as we see they're the real deal. They just beat Wisconsin last night in Wisconsin. All right, we'll get to Thursday night football or the Detroit Lions injuries. Going to open up the door for the Green Bay Packers to put up some points in this game. Let's break it down on the other side.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell's one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency, the Pips, the Players, the Hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. The great Brady Cannon kicking with us. All right, can't wait to hear Brady's picks about this very unique golf tournament, actually. But we'll get to it in a couple of minutes. Let's start off with the football. And a big game tomorrow, Brady. I can't help but think, if you're the Detroit Lions, this is what happens. Like, when you're really, really good, you still, every game becomes bigger. It seems like, no, everything's great. We're having a great year. It's like, no, we can go from great to bad very quickly. And the Detroit Lions are heading into the most difficult part of their schedule right now, Brady. And they're a beat-up football team. And the Philadelphia Eagles have a bunch of cupcakes coming up. The Eagles are not letting up. The Eagles are starting to peak right now. So as crazy as it is, in a week or two, the Lions could find themselves on the outside looking in at that top seed suddenly. And I think it's paramount for them. If you're the Detroit Lions, you do not want to have to go into Philadelphia, man, in late January with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. And then you got the Green Bay Packers, who to me are like that third team, right? You got the Lions, you got the Eagles, and then, that tier 2, but pretty good and pretty dangerous, the Green Bay Packers. This is a big game for everybody tomorrow, Brady.
There's no doubt about it, Gabe. And I think you're spot on with everything you're talking about there. We always talk about, who's the best team in December. That's the team that often wins the Super Bowl. And right now, you might say that is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Detroit Lions, and I've been saying it myself, have been the best team in football, I believe, for a long time here, for the last 10 weeks or so. But they are getting a little banged up at the wrong time. It's also very interesting that every week that goes by, there seems to be a storyline about, okay, is this the week that the Lions slip? This is a bad scheduling spot. They've played 4 out of the last 5 weeks on the road. This is happening here. This is going on with this guy. They've got this game to look ahead. They've got a letdown possibility. Whatever it is, every week, and somehow they overcome it and they crush people. It's really only been 2 games, maybe 3 games all year. One, obviously, they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all the way back in week 2. They slipped up a little bit at Houston, where Jared Goff was intercepted 5 times, but they still won and almost covered that spread. And then, of course, Thanksgiving a week ago, where in the second half, the injuries started to pile up, and they really should have lost the game to the Bears. Other than that, they have overcome every narrative that the media, you and I, everybody's been talking about that could be a sinkhole for this team. They've been able to avoid it. It's really been amazing, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did it again. But yeah, it's not just situational right now. This week, it is true. It's on paper, on the roster, and on the injury report. They have injuries along that defensive line and in the defensive secondary. I mean, the only thing that looks healthy right now is your linebacking core, and I think anybody would agree that the most important ends of the defense are the front, the pass rush and the pass coverage. So they're in a bad spot against a very good team that we know not only can throw the ball and has healthy receivers, but Josh Jacobs has been really getting it going on the ground as well. I made the line 4.5, and that's not necessarily taking the injuries into account. The line opened up 3.5. Maybe that is taking the injuries into account. And I will say, the last time these two teams met, Detroit won by 10, but it was a little bit misleading because there was a pick 6 there late in the game. So really, that was probably more like a 3-point game. I think the line's probably accurate.
And now, similar to last year, Jordan Love is starting to dial it up as the season goes on, right? I mean, he started the season, he got hurt right away, it comes back. And now it seems to me he's starting to get a little bit of a groove. The last 2 games, they put up 68 points, the Green Bay Packers. And, I don't know how big of a teaser player you are, but to me, Brady, this game is a beautiful teaser spot, especially, you got that 3.5 right there. You want to do a 7-point teaser. We got him plus 10.5. I'd rather that than the 9.5. And I would be shocked if the Lions won that game by more than that. And how about the total of this game? As you said, the first game played, it was a strange game. It wasn't great weather, but it wasn't bad weather. And I remember after, like you said, Dan Campbell said, "What are you all going to say now?" You said we couldn't play in bad weather. That really wasn't that bad of weather, but it was 24-14. I think it's going to be a lot higher scoring than 24-14 tomorrow, Brady.
Yeah, I think the Lions have shown that. And what's amazing, when you look at the Lions stats, we know they are a juggernaut offensively. They're also pretty darn good defensively. But now that defense is a little susceptible.
They didn't give up a touchdown in the second half. It was unbelievable, right? Until last week. The Bears were the first team to score on them in the second half. And it was nuts.
she was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Hinting your own cheek? Because I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
All right, we got to get to some golf here. But I asked you about the Thursday game, Brady. Anything else? What's if there's like one game people ask you in Vegas when you see people, hey, who do you like this week? What do you think about the card this week, I guess is a good way of putting it in. It's funny, Brady. I don't know if you agree with this. I tweeted this out last Sunday morning, and I said, man, I really don't like this card very much today, guys. And I said, I'm kind of, I got some spots here, but I don't have as many bets as I normally do. And I went 3-0 on Thanksgiving, and I actually went 5-0 on the Super Contest last week.
Nice. Very good.
But three of my picks were Thanksgiving, right? So I only like 2 NFL games going into Sunday in my head, and then I ended up having one of the best Sundays that I've had this year. I killed 1 million props, first touchdown scores, everything fell into place. But I tweeted out before, and I said, just because I don't love this card doesn't mean we can't win. And I said, how many times have you woken up and said, man, I love this Saturday called football card, or man, we're going to kill it this week, and I love these games. You end up going 2-6, right?
Yeah.
And, you might love something. It doesn't mean it's going to love you back, Brady. You know what I'm saying? So that whole I like the card, I don't like the card really doesn't mean very much, bro. Every card is the same. It's all in our head, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I thought a lot of games or the handicap for a lot of games last week made sense. And we went 5-0 in the Circa Millions contest, and I had another entry go 4-1, and I had another entry go 3-2. So yeah, it was a very positive week in contests out here, and I went 4-1 in my bets. That fourth win was pretty lucky with the Denver Broncos, but hey, they all count.
Yeah.
That was the most amazing cover of the year. But I'll tell you a game, to your first question, a game that I have my eye on or have had my eye on before I even started to run the numbers and all that good stuff is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. They're about a 6.5, 7-point favorite. I made it 7.5. There's not a big margin there, but there is a big difference between 6.5 and 7.5. And I'm going to dive in deeper and get into this handicap as the week goes on. But how does Antonio Pierce motivate his team after basically pushing all his chips into the center of the table last week and saying, you know what, we're the worst team in football, we're playing the best team, that whole spin that he wanted to do last week, and apparently it worked. because they came to play. They let everything. They didn't leave anything in the tank against the Kansas City Chiefs. And as we all know, absolutely should have won that game. 29 Circa Survivor contestants just, with their heart in their throat, couldn't believe how the Chiefs pulled that one out like a rabbit out of their hat once again. So for the Raiders to go through that, for their coach to set up that narrative, and then for the Raiders to come that close, I don't know how they possibly show up for this game. I think Tampa Bay, conversely, a good situation here where they really got quite a scare from the Carolina Panthers, who have made a habit of that as of late in a couple of games with Kansas City and now Tampa Bay. So I think Tampa Bay is set up for a bounce back where the Raiders, boy, I don't know where they are able to find it against a non-conference opponent on the road. I just don't see it. So I think Tampa Bay rolls past the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday.
Brady Cannon kicking it with us. All right, so let's talk some golf right now. It's the Hero Challenge. It's Tiger Woods' invitational tournament, and it's in Albany. And I got a kick out of that, Brady, when I saw Albany, and I'm thinking, man, it's got to be another Albany because it can't be Albany, New York, right? But Albany, Bahamas, because I don't think you're getting the top players to show up in Albany, New York at this time of the year, Brady.
Unless they're going to visit the Baseball Hall of Fame on their way to Cooperstown or something like that. But no, I'm with you. And what a great run it's been for PGA Tour players. You're in Los Cabos, Mexico. You're in Bermuda. You're in St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Now you're in Albany in the Bahamas. Not a bad gig if you've been involved in any of those tournaments. This is obviously pretty exclusive company here. Scotty Scheffler defending his title. Ludwig Oberg is in the field. Sam Burns, Sahith Theegala. It's a great field. Like you said, limited to 20 players, invitation only from Tiger himself. Unfortunately, Tiger's not in the field because, like we often have said as of late, he's battling injury. So he's not in the field, but this is an Ernie Els designed golf course, which is really cool. I'm a big Ernie Els fan. He said it kind of resembles a British Open style course. And if you look at the past winners, there's no shot link data here. So it's really hard to find out what skill sets work at this course. But if you do a little research, you look at the scorecard, the length of the holes, and then you look at the past winners. I mean, it just jumped off the page to me. They are absolute ball strikers and total drivers. Long iron players, ball strikers, not necessarily short game wizards, putters, that type of stuff. It's guys that are just ball strikers and total drivers. Scotty Scheffler, Victor Hovland, Jon Rahm, Henrik Stenson, Ricky Fowler, Hideki Matsuyama. These guys have won this tournament I think this is the 9th year it's been held here at this course, and it just continues to produce that same type of player. Oh, by the way, look at the past winners or guys that have done really well at TPC Scottsdale for the WM Phoenix Open. Ricky Fowler has won it. Hideki Matsuyama's won it. Scotty Scheffler's won it twice. Bubba Watson, another winner here in Bermuda, has done tremendously well in Phoenix, as has Jon Rahm. So I think there's a corollary there with TPC Scottsdale. I tell you what, this field is weaker than it was last year, Gabe. Last year it was a little bit more star-studded. Even though this field's really good, it was even a little bit stronger last year, and Scotty lapped the field by 3 strokes. Now his price, I hit him last year at 4-1. His price has been cut in half. He's about plus 225 or so. I bet him again. He's Scotty Scheffler. He's clearly the best player in this field. The next closest guy on the odds board is 11-1. And Scheffler has, like I say, there's the connection there with Phoenix. People will ask, well, he hasn't played since the Tour Championship. That was the same thing last year. He had that, month and a half off or whatever and came here and beat everybody by 3 shots. So I think the course fits him. He's obviously the best player in the world. I went ahead and ate the chalk here. My friend Jeff Sherman at the Westgate Superbook said the odds ought to be minus 225, not plus 225. If you look at a regular tour event, when there's 150 guys in the field, he's 5-1. Against 20 guys, he's plus 225. Why not? Now, I did, hedge my bet a little bit. I took Oberg at 11-1, and I took Sam Burns at 16. Oberg jumped out at me because he is very similar to Scheffler. Tremendous ball striker, total driver. Hits it long and straight. Also is an excellent scrambler and an excellent putter. and we've seen this guy challenge Scotty, even at Augusta National. So Oberg, and this guy, the first time we saw him recently was at the RSM a couple weeks ago defending his title, his first time back from knee surgery. He was a little shaky, but a couple of times he wasn't. He shot 2 rounds of 64. So that tells me he's close. He's had a couple more weeks off to recover. And Sam Burns, been a great player in 2024. And oh, by the way, his last 2 trips to the Phoenix Open, finished 3rd and finished 6th. Those are my 3 guys that I think are going to contend this week. And I think Scotty probably comes out on top again.
I want to ask you about a player that's finished in the top 5 for the last 5 times that he's played here, and that's JT, Justin Thomas.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm seeing a prop minus 130 for top 7. It's only 20 people. So you got interesting numbers here as far as the finishing positions. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Minus 130, top 7 for JT.
Well, he's played very well as of late. He's had a couple of seasons in a row where he hasn't been the JT that we're used to, right? Remember a couple of years ago, he missed out on the playoff at the Wyndham Championship. He had a chip to advance to the FedEx Cup playoff. I mean, Justin Thomas missing the playoffs, that's unheard of. Now, he got better this year. Couple 3-4 weeks ago at the Zozo Championship, he was really close, finished 2nd. I think the game's in good shape. He obviously plays here very well. He's a friend of Tiger's. He's got that mojo going, and he's played well in Phoenix. I don't mind top 7 at minus 130. Yes, sir.
Brady Cannon. Awesome stuff, Brady. Thanks for the time, my man.
You bet, sir.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Awesome stuff with Brady Cannon, as always, talking football. And we talked the Hero Challenge. Brady really is one of the best in the business, in both, actually, but famous for his golf dominance. And Paul Bovey's famous for his NFL dominance. And he's been rolling through the Circuit Survivor this year, an incredibly volatile season in which I'm sure I don't know if there's been any heart attacks induced amongst the contestants, but at this point, with that much money on the line, and interestingly enough, I just saw tonight on the news that the 3 days with the most heart attacks in America are December 25th, December 26th, and January 1st. I guess that holiday stress gets to people, and that's when there's the most heart attacks. And I can't help but think there'd probably be a few sports bettors betting on like the Hawaii Bowl or something, and they bet way too much on it. Like, they bet way too much. They can't buy their wife a present. They're getting divorced. I think the holidays could be, I can understand, Paul, most heart attacks on Christmas Day. But, Paul, you had two, last week we spoke, you had two entries still going in the Circus Survivor, and you admitted how tricky it was, and it's getting tough at this spot. And I know last week at this point, you would probably take the fact that you still got one going right now, but I know you're beating yourself up that you don't have two still going.
Yeah, I hit a roadblock on Sunday. I was one of two people over the weekend or two entries that got eliminated. I had the Bengals. And look, it was a strategy because I had Tampa Bay available to me, but I really thought Carolina had a good shot to beat them. And that should have come to fruition. We all saw the game. Adam Thielen, touchdown, not allowed. For whatever reason, replay did not overrule the incompletion. He got a knee down, and then we had a field goal.
That was a
kicker.
catch, Paul. I had the Panthers plus the points. I swear to God, I don't understand. We went to the replay. Both announcers thought it was a catch. Dude, he got his elbow in. He got a foot in and his elbow in. It was a catch. I don't know what they didn't see there. And not to mention Pinheiro kept on missing field goals, Paul. It was so frustrating. Carolina deserved to win that game.
Point. Yeah, that was my next point. These guys couldn't make a field goal. Then my internet goes out, so I didn't see the fumble in overtime. And
So, yeah.
anyway, it was Armageddon on Sunday. It was awful. I went down with the Bengals, who, by the way, look, I understand the defense is a huge liability, but they were trading scores with the Steelers. Nobody counts on Joe Burrow to have 3 turnovers in the game. And by the way, a really bad call at the end of the first half. Bengals have the ball, their own 40. It's offside Pittsburgh. They call a legal procedure. Bengals kick it back with a minute to go. Pittsburgh comes down, gets a field goal. I'm not saying that was the difference, but it certainly didn't help the Bengals' cause. But anyway, I'm live with one, and I can only hope for the best at this point. I do have some good teams available, but it's going to be rough now.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to ask you right now to. You don't have to share who you're going to take. So much on the line right now. Obviously, only 52 people remaining. But do you like something at least, or do you feel good about this week's card from a Circus Survivor perspective?
Look, I am one of 15 or 14 that have the Eagles. Now, it would be hard for me not to take the Eagles unless I want to wait to December 29th when they play the Cowboys at home, because that's your next surefire win. But at this point, it's hard to go against the Eagles. But this is a game where Philadelphia could really let down. It is a classic sandwich spot. They're off a couple big games. They have Pittsburgh on deck. That's a huge in-state rivalry. And by the way, flashback a few weeks ago, Jacksonville almost knocked this team off. So they've I'm not taking anything away from them, but at this point, it's just a bad spot against the team which we can all acknowledge has been playing a lot better football in the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I'm buying in. We talked a lot, and we had some fun about the Panthers struggling earlier in the year, but they do deserve better, actually. And in fact, I couldn't help but think, Paul, and I thought of you, in which if they win that game against the Buccaneers, suddenly that win total's not so crazy. Like they're a couple of wins away, like getting up to 4, you know what I mean? They get up to 4 wins, and you can just see it point blank. I brought it up last night, Paul. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think Bryce Young, to me, he's shown enough right now that I think you give him another chance. Like, I don't think you throw him under the bus or anything. If I was Carolina, like, I think he's shown enough that he could be your quarterback. And you, like you mentioned, he's got Thielen. He doesn't have a lot to work with, bro. And you watch that game. his offensive line is terrible. Like, he literally is running for his life on every play. I think Bryce Young deserves to remain the quarterback next year.
Yeah, and not only that, they were down several receivers. Now, they did lose Deontay Johnson. Coker was out. The tight end Sanders was out. So Tommy Tremble all of a sudden stepped up and looked like Travis Kelce on Sunday. And Adam Thielen back in the lineup. I believe it was 10 targets, and he had 8 receptions for, I think, 99 yards. So they really were working with a skeleton crew at receiver, and they were still able to do some damage and almost pull out a win against the Buccaneers.
So, we got about 45 seconds or so I'll just throw it out here. A lot of points in this Philadelphia game. You're talking about them winning the game outright, but Carolina's not a bad play, is it, when you're getting 13 and a half points in a football game at this stage? Bad teams are almost good bets late in the season, Paul, because you're getting value. Nobody wants to bet on them. They think they're bad.
I think the Eagles are just a little bit overhyped right now. You look at the spot and you say to yourself, well, is Carolina going to get more than 16 points? And if they get to 17-20, you got to figure they got a good shot to at least stay in the game. And I'm not putting an upset. I'm not going to make that an impossibility at this point, just because the Eagles sometimes play down to the competition.
For the record, the updated number right now, some people are chipping away at this thing. It's 12.5. Philly minus 12.5 right now.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Hinted your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
This is Sports Rage. I'm Morency. We're kicking it. Paul Bovey in the house with us right now. We're talking NFL football. We wish Paul the best of luck in the circuit. Down to 52 people, $14 million on the line. Lay it on the line. Great song from the rock band Triumph. Can't help but think of that right now. All right, Paul, I'll just quickly ask your thoughts on the Packers and the Lions game tomorrow. I know it's not at the top of your ticket as far as games this week, as far as the side is concerned, but the total sitting at 51.5 right now. And this is a football game in which I would expect there to be some points. I know they played to a 24-14 game about a month ago, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago. 4 games ago, I guess. I know they played to that lower scoring game, but that was then. This is now. And I know you love Jordan Love coming into the year this year. He unfortunately got hurt, and now he's back. I brought it up earlier. They've scored 68 points in their last 2 football games. This offense has started to dial it up right now. Jacobs is running downhill for them. And I believe you expect the Green Bay Packers to be able to put some points up on the board tomorrow against a very beaten up and depleted Detroit Lion defense.
Yeah, and I actually did play this side. It was the first bet I made in that I took Green Bay with the 3.5. The reason is I thought anything over a field goal was worth taking here. And let me tell you why I'm on the Packers total, the game total, and the Packers. When they played last time, a bit misleading, 24-14. As you know, there was a pick 6 in there. But Jordan Love dropped back to pass 42 times. He was not sacked. He was only hit twice. Now you have several defenders, including DJ Reader out, Anzalone out, to name a few. There's others who are not going to be in the lineup that were in the lineup for that one. So you got to figure that Detroit is going to struggle defensively with this team. Dobbs, by the way, who's going to be out tomorrow night, didn't really do too much in that game. I think he only had 4 receptions from minimal yardage. It was Reader that did most of the damage. He had over 100, and I just think the Green Bay Packers are going to move the football against Detroit. You get to the point where there's too many injuries to overcome, and I think that's where the Detroit Lions have gotten to. So in order for them to win this game and cover, or at least win, they're going to have to score some points. I got the 23.5, which is a key number, team total over. You want to be under the 24, 3 touchdowns and a field goal. I think Green Bay gets 27-30 here, and Detroit's going to have to be in the 30s to win this football game. So I like Green Bay here.
What do you think about the Detroit Lions moving forward here, Paul? We were talking earlier about their schedule. I mean, this week they get the Packers. Next week they host the Buffalo Bills. The Philadelphia Eagles keep on winning games. They're hosting the Panthers this week. Things could get, things can turn for the negative if you're the Lions quickly. It's amazing as good as they've been and as much as they've won. They're actually under a lot of pressure over the next couple of weeks. And the Packers are a good football team that, they see the Lions schedule moving forward as well. And, the Packers are going to bring it tomorrow night. I like the Packers as well in this spot. And I said it earlier, I don't think every game is a great teaser spot, but to me, the Packers getting 10.5 points, Paul, on a 7-point teaser to the over 44.5 is also a nice look.
Yeah, it's a nice look. I prefer to keep the teasers on the lower totals just because of the way the math works out. But I definitely see the Packers close. And perhaps if I were under a field goal here or a field goal, I'd probably be leaning your way and try to tease it up, let's say, from 3 to 10 on a 7-pointer, which you could still find at $1.30 if you look around. But I see your point here, and that's just a little added protection because I definitely see the Packers staying close. Look, the Lions are going to be up against it. It's going to be up to Jared Goff in some cases to outscore these teams because, once again, their defense has taken several hits this year, most recently Anzalone, and then this week in that Thanksgiving game, you had numerous players being carted off the field.
DJ Reader's out.
Yeah,
DJ Reader's out. Taylor Decker's out. Like they've got like multiple linemen out. Secondaries beat up. I mean, hell, they just signed Jamal Adams off the street this week.
Yeah, people think the Lions are absolutely invincible, and sometimes you don't factor in injuries. Say, okay, next man up, but you get to the point where the next man up is not so good.
More with Paul Bovey on the other side. So Paul likes the Packers team total over 23.5.
she was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. The Princeton players, the hustlers, the people, the busters, and everybody else in between, including everybody watching us on Roku TV, including myself. I've got a Roku TV recently, and I've been watching the grid. Paul looks great. You look great on TV, Paul. Great on Roku, channel 263 right now. All right, so we were talking about the Green Bay Packers and liking the Packers plus the 3.5. Paul put a play in on the Packers and also the Packers team total over 23.5. Another team total and football game you're looking at, a game that actually Brady liked. Brady Cannon was with us earlier, and we talked about a Thursday nighter, and I said, what's one game that you like? And he said he liked the Buccaneers this week against the Raiders. Thinks the Raiders left it all on the line on Black Friday against the Chiefs. You and I were just discussing that Buccaneer and Panther game. How do you think let's take the Raiders out of the equation. How do you think Tampa responds after that close game last week against Carolina?
Well, Tampa does not have a good defense. I mean, Bryce Young was cherry picking, and I went over what happened with Thielen, and Tommy Tremble was getting downfield. Tommy Tremble, look, he's a backup. 2-3 catches a game, 18, 20 yards perhaps on a good day. And I think he went off for 50-something. They have several guys out. This guy, Taki Smith, is out. Shoyinka is out. Britt is out. And it has really hurt their defense. They have not been good the entire year. If you remember, Lamar Jackson put up huge numbers against them on that nationally televised game. Atlanta went through them. They're going to be up against it, and this is where Brady's point comes into play. If the Raiders feel like playing. Look, they had an impressive performance against Kansas City. They were able to move the ball downfield, and I don't think they're going to toss the towel in. This line opened up at 7.5. It broke 7, and it's down to 6.5. I did not take the points. I feel like I should have. I was close to doing it. I did not. I wouldn't take it here. But I do think there'll be some points here. I grabbed it at 44.5, laying a little juice at 45 flat. It's up to 46 for good reason, because I do think Tampa's going to score some points at home. Mike Evans is questionable. but I think he will play, and he did play last week. And then you have this defense, which gives up a lot of ground. So I'm going to look for this game to go over the 45, and I'll look for the Raiders to put some points up and hopefully cash a ticket.
I think there's going to be points in this football game. As you stated, you can move the ball. Bryce Young was running for his life and still picking up chunk plays through the air in this game. And we know that Tampa have a very, very good offense as well. All right, let's talk some college football, Paul, before we get you out of here. We've got 3 games on Friday night. Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State. Rich Rod's done a great job with his program. They're really fired up for this game. 5-point favorites, total 57.5. Tulane, we spent a lot of time earlier in the week talking about Tulane guys laying 6 in upstate New York and against West Point against Army, sitting at 5 right now, 45.5. UNLV, finally this line moved up to 4. I thought it was a little light at the 3.5. It's moved up to 4. Boise laying 4. This game is in Boise. All these games are home games on Friday night. They're not neutral field football games. But, Paul, you've attacked the first one that I just brought up. Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State on Friday night. The total is 57.5.
Okay, don't be misled by the game on Saturday because Western Kentucky did defeat Jacksonville State 19-17. But the caveat is Jacksonville State was already in this game. Western Kentucky needed to win. So the motivation was with the Hilltoppers clearly, and it showed up in the final score. But let's take a look at this Western Kentucky team. This is not your vintage Hilltopper team from years past. Go back to the Middle Tennessee game. Vadiato, the quarterback for Middle Tennessee, went 24-31 for 456. 49-21 win, Western Kentucky. Middle Tennessee punted only once. New Mexico, 55 rushes, 330 yards. And the only reason Western Kentucky prevailed there was that they had a 5-2 turnover edge. Louisiana Tech beats them, runs for, I think it was 44 times for over 200. And then on the other side, Western Kentucky ran for 63 yards on 22 carries with a 25-yard breakaway run in there. So basically outside of that, it was 21-37. And I'm not finished because they took on Liberty, and Liberty 419 yards rushing on 63 carries. And it wasn't even a contest. Salter didn't even have to throw the ball much. And Liberty wins that one 38-21. This is not a very good team. And maybe you're catching some line value because of what happened on Saturday, them defeating Jacksonville State, who got off to a shaky start against Coastal Carolina, but steadily improved under Rich Rod, and they are the better football team. Open up 3. It's up to 5. I laid the 3 with some juice earlier in the week, but I still think they're going to win going away here, and they'll put Western Kentucky away.
Paul, you're a MAC guy. You enjoy the MACtion during the regular season. One of the conferences that you like to follow. We have the MAC championship in Detroit, Ohio, and Miami, Ohio. Both these programs want this championship bad. Miami, Ohio, the Red Hawks are -2. The total's 44.5 in that game. Paul, are you going to do anything with this one?
You know what, Gabe? I looked at it, and sometimes you struggle to come up with an opinion. And if you struggle to come up with an opinion, at least the way I approach it is, if I'm struggling, it means I don't have a strong opinion. I'll probably lay off the game, but there's always props in these games. And, one of them you want to take a look at, these are low-scoring teams. Maybe no score in the first 6 minutes. But I will look at some player props here. I think there's going to be some opportunities in college. I think they set numbers which are generally weak, and they do post them. So that's the direction I'll be looking at there, going in that on that game.
As far as we got about 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes or so, Paul, here. So we got Penn State and the Ducks on Saturday night. Clemson and SMU is an interesting one. SMU really haven't played anybody this year, but they are good, and Clemson always lose big games. And SMU are 2.5-point favorites, total 55.5 in that one. We got a Georgia-Texas rematch. A fun one early in the morning on the West Coast, 12 o'clock Pacific, 9 a.m., 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific at Jerry's World in Dallas, Iowa State and Arizona State. What are your thoughts on some of the bigger conference championship games?
I haven't been impressed with Iowa State's defense. I wasn't impressed the other night against K-State. They were able to move the ball. K-State was. I think it'll be a higher scoring game. As far as Penn State, Oregon, I have not been impressed with the Nittany Lions since the beginning of the year. I mean, they rang up some big wins against weak opponents. I think they played Kent and just named the score. It was like, 56-0. And but I believe in this Oregon team, and I believe in the quarterback. So I just think they're a better team. I've seen Penn State going back as far as UCLA, and they were gashed in the middle. You could run against the Nittany Lions. So I'm going to go with Oregon here to cover this smallish number. I think they have a good shot to win the whole thing. I'm going Ducks.
I agree with you. In fact, that's the one play I already put in, Paul. So I'm glad that we feel the same way. I bet it a couple of days ago. I thought the number would move, and it did. It went up, but it's come back down again to pretty much where it is. But I agree. I think Oregon is the best team in football, and I expect them to win the national championship. Thanks, Paul.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
All right, super impressive by Paul Bovey. Seriously, guys, there was 14,000 entries. 14,000 entries in the Circa Survivor contest, including one of them was me. I got bounced in week 3. Was it week 4? I think it was week 3. I think it was week 3. I got bounced. And listen, everybody, dude, there was like 70% of the people out after week 2. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm down to the last like 18% or something already. I got bounced. Paul had various entries. That's the key too. And he had 2 alive going into last week. and now he's down to 1 still, and there's only 52 people left. Next year, I'm going to be more aggressive with it. I played 1 entry. Next year in a Circa Survivor, I'm going to try to play like 3 at least. Right? At least give yourself a chance, because if you can make it kind of far, and Paul didn't talk about it much, but Paul did hedge a bit, and he ended up making money. Right? So you can, it's only $1,000 to enter. When you get this far, if you're in a Survivor, you put the money in. You got $14 million on the line. You're going to put like 5, 10K or something if you can, 20K, whatever, on the other side, right? You got nothing to lose at this point. And if they win and you lose the 10, 20K, it's like, all right, fine. I've only got a couple of more weeks left in this Circa Survivor, and you can just do it again until the end, and you get the 14 mil, or you end up cashing out large with the hedging along the way. And I don't believe in hedging. We always talk hedging is for gardeners, but when we're talking about $14 million, that's a little bit different. You're talking about $14 million. Yeah, that's just a little bit different. So we wish Paul Bovey the best of luck in the Circa Survivor. Let's check in with the basketball right now. We got a fun one going on. Auburn and Duke. It's 66-64 right now with 7.5 minutes left at Cameron Indoor. Some people think this Auburn team's the best team in the country, including Ken Palm. Auburn are getting 3.5 right now. In-game total is 163.5. I'm on Auburn plus the points, and I was on the original total of 146.5, 146 to the over. It's up to 165.5 right now. NHL hockey. We gave you the Dallas Stars to win the hockey game tonight. We said the Stars have beaten the Kings 4 straight times, 8 of the last 10 times they played, and they're also 8-2 to the under. So we're on the Stars. They're up 2-0. We're on the under 5.5. That's what the total is right now. And the Vegas Golden Knights are up 2-0 on the Ducks. Midway through the second period of play, we love the under 6.5 in this game. And the total right now was 5.5. Let's bring in Babano, one of the ice guys. Ian Cameron in the house. Babano, good to see you. What do you think of these hockey games going on right now? Stars, Kings, Knights, and Ducks right now.
Yeah, Gabe, I like the way the Stars game couldn't have started any better, as I had the first period over in that Dallas-LA game. Something to note, people that bet NHL hockey, first period totals trends, if you start to find a team that's getting on one of these and you find it quickly enough, you can really start to ride it and cash in and game out. Dallas is now 8-1 to the first period over in their last 9 games after tonight. And it really started with that explosion they had against Pittsburgh. They were struggling to score, and they blew out the Penguins, and since then they've gone 8-1 to the over in the first period. I'm also with you, Gabe, on Dallas here. I just thought the price was cheap, considering they're the better team. I know Tyler Seguin's injury is a big deal, but how many times do we see the team step up? First game losing one of their best players, and so far off to a great start.
Yeah, you know what? And the LA Kings, Babano, normally a better road team than home team, but they have been a good home team, but I agree with you. I thought this is a short price for the Stars, that they play often, and it's been very one-sided, right? I'm not going to overlook that, Babano. The Stars have beaten them 8 of the last 10 times they played. Like this, that's like a 3-year body of work. You know what I'm saying? So it's no not doubt. Just like a little bit of pattern. That's like, and the same rosters, like you said, for the most, the Kings and the Stars have been the same damn teams for the most part, right? Here and there, little tweaks here and there, etc. And 4 straight wins for them, right? And I bet the under 6.5 Babano was a contrast here. And I know you know the trends in the NHL, but I don't think, and we brought it up last night, but I don't think the common casual fan realizes the Ducks are a big under team, man. 15-6-2 to the under on the season coming into tonight. I know Vegas are an over team, but we saw a 1-0 game last night. I like the under 6.5 in this game, and so far so good.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's actually 5 straight unders in this series with the Stars and the Kings. And the reason I like the first period over was actually 3 of those 5 games did go over in the first period. So it's been a pattern of goals early, and then it starts to slow down and defense takes over later in the game between the Stars and the Kings. And hopefully we see that for tonight once again, especially for you and anyone else on the under in this game. And then the other game, Vegas and Anaheim. I took a shot with Anaheim tonight just because you got Vegas on the back-to-back. Ducks have actually played the Golden Knights kind of tough, but now they're down 2-0 and going to need to get the offense going to get back in it.
All right, so college basketball, guys, we got a really close one. It's 68-66 right now for the Blue Devils over Auburn. with 6 minutes left at Cameron Indoor. It's +2.5. Auburn are +155 on the money line. The total is 162.5 right now. Texas are up on NC State 61-59 with 30 seconds left. But a couple of games just got started, Babano. USC, the USC Trojans. Listen, the Ducks have been playing good basketball. Conference play has begun. And once again, it feels strange to say that this is a Big Ten game between the Ducks and the USC Trojans, like Washington and UCLA last night. They're making their Big Ten basketball debut last night. Washington versus UCLA. But we have old school Pac-12 rivals.
Watching that game, Washington UCLA last night, I'm still getting used to the Big Ten logo being in Pauley Pavilion on the court. I'm like, what is this?
I noticed that at the Rose Bowl. I was watching USC UCLA. They were like, it says the wind's picking up a little bit, and they showed a Big Ten flag blowing in the end zone. I was like, it's strange.
It's real life.
That LA's Big Ten country now. So it's bizarro world that we're in. But all you need to know about this, Babano, about how the Ducks are respected. The Trojans, the Trojans are on a lot when you come on. It seems like they play every Wednesday night. And we talked about them not covering those big numbers, but they are winning games, Babano. And here they are right now. They're up by 7 on the Ducks, 28-21, but the Ducks are still only getting +1.5 right now. What do you think about that game?
So Oregon's definitely the better team, but I faded Oregon. I rode Oregon and Dane Altman in the tournament, but I took USC tonight.
You're on the Trojans, huh?
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you hinting your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
The LA Kings just got on the board. 2-1 for the Dallas Stars. 13 minutes left in the second period of play. Vegas Golden Knights up 2-0 on the Ducks. 7 minutes left in the second period of play. NBA basketball, the T-Wolves are smoking the Clippers right now. It's 52-28 for the T-Wolves at the half. Only 28 points put up by the Clippers. Duke are up by 5 right now with 3:52 left. So we're just under the 4-minute TV timeout. A lot of basketball left in this game. 73-68 Auburn are currently getting 6.5. We got a 30-23 game now. USC are up 7 on the Ducks. USC are currently -3.5. The Ducks are getting 3.5. All right, we'll get to all these conference championship college football games, but the Four Nations Cup is actually around the corner. We're into December right now. This thing is, it's pretty much actually, it's about 2 months away, literally and figuratively. It starts February 12th. So we're about 2 months away right now, and all four nations announced their rosters today. So let's take a look at this. The best of X is the best of the NHL. All right, so let's start off with Finland here. The Finns, listen, this is only a 4-team tournament, but Banner, when you get into the Olympics, the Finns are the kings of the bronze medal, these guys. They never win, right? They always make it far. They get bounced, and they're the one team that cares more in the bronze medal game all the time. And they always nail down a bronze medal. They're the kings of finishing third in these tournaments. But there's only four teams. Finland do have the longest odds to win the tournament, Babano. Listen, Finnish players in the NHL, they're all very similar. They're great two-way players. They're not very flashy. This Finnish team sort of lacks offensive punch, but they're going to be good at tying you up. They're going to play really low-scoring hockey games, and the Finns are always a dangerous team in international play. What's your take on the Finnish roster?
Yeah, not as much depth, obviously, as the other three countries with the Finland roster. But I think there's still a little more punch offensively than maybe they've had in the past. When you're talking about Sebastian Aho, who's been a great player for Carolina. Barkov's got the offensive side of the puck with him. Rope Hintz for the Dallas Stars is a great player. You bring in Kaapo Kakko, probably having the best season he's had so far with the New York Rangers. What if Patrick Laine, who scores his first goal in his first game with Montreal last night, gets into form, is in good form going into that tournament, and gives them some punch from the power play? So all of a sudden, and Teuvo Teravainen, Mikko Rantanen for Colorado, to me, they're a little bit better offensively, but the name of the game is still going to be shutting you down, playing good defense, forwards that are littered with two-way ability. And I think their goaltending this year it's interesting because Jussi Saros has had an up-and-down year, but the guys I want to look at, the other two goalies, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for Buffalo has been very solid this year, and Kevin Lankinen especially for Vancouver, who I think's probably got a good chance to be the number one goalie for Team Finland, given the way he's played with Vancouver. Lankinen's deserving of this spot, and I think their goaltending's decent. It's just not quite as depth laden as the other teams, and that's going to be the challenge here for Finland. But this is a competitive team, and they're going to have the ability to spring an upset or two in this tournament.
They're plus 700. The odds are very good it's only a 4-team tournament, guys. It's a round robin. All four teams will play each other, and boom, there's a final game after. It's like a week-long, round robin tournament in Montreal and Boston. Championship game is in Boston. So the Finns are 7-1. The Swedes are plus 450, and Sweden are super dangerous. All right, Sweden are super dangerous up front. Their defensemen are very, very explosive. They can score. The Swedes are strong between the pipes as well. I personally think, Babano, from a betting perspective, there's no value whatsoever on Canada plus 125. And on paper, the USA have a better roster, actually, than Canada. So it's kind of lunacy that Canada are plus 125 favorites. USA are plus 200. But, guys, we're talking about a 4-freaking-team tournament here, right? It's a game here, a game there. And all this firepower, Babano, I tweeted it out earlier, and as you just said, these games, bro, are going to be low-scoring games, right? Like the Swedes and Finns are going to slow stuff down, man. And basically they're going to make it hard. They're not stupid. They're not going to say, let's let Austin Matthews. And they really know how to, play the trap, and they call it the torpedo in Europe. There's going to be low-scoring games in this, so all the firepower really doesn't – it looks flashy on paper, guys, but Finland will be dangerous. We'll hit it more on the other side.
she was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you hinting your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. Ian Cameron kicking with us, Sirius XM Channel 159, Sports Grid Radio and Television Network. We'll get to the college football in a moment, but we're talking about the Four Nations Cup, so it starts February 12th, and we were talking about the odds. And for me, in a 4-team tournament, I'm just looking for value. And you could argue, listen, you're getting 7-1 on the Finns. That's not crazy. Like if somebody, you said, I'm taking Finland because they're plus 700, and plus they're good. Right, anything can happen. There's like, dude, they're playing each other once. Like, you know what I mean? They're playing each other once, and there's a semifinal and a final. So all it takes is an upset here, a game there, and they're all NHL players, so anything can happen. And also, whatever, you got a hot goalie, and you brought it up, Abano. Pretty crazy that someone that was kind of a throwaway by the Nashville Predators has been a savior for the Vancouver Canucks in Lankinen. And the guy's unbelievable. He's playing great hockey. Right, last year Seelov saved them in the playoffs, and Seelov's is, he's lost it. But Lankin's been rock solid. I mean, the guy, he started off like 8-0 on the road. He's 10-2 on the road now, Lankinen. So you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually was the goalie. But when talking about Canada, that's the big concern. Babano, some people are wondering why we're thinking Logan Thompson should have been on the team. But the Team Canada goalies, you do have 2 Stanley Cup winners. You've got Hill from Vegas. You've got Jordan Binnington from the St. Louis Blues. And you got Sam Montembeault from the Montreal Canadiens, who did win a world championship for Team Canada. So there's a familiarity, and they trust him. And Montembeault is one of these guys that's not on a very good team, but he's a good goalie. And he'll be good on a really good team because he's used to playing in front of a bad defense, behind a bad defense with the Canadians. But the USA team, Babano, they're the deepest ones. Like, if you really look at it, like up front, I think Sweden. We can backtrack to Sweden, bro. But Nylander's a badass. Pettersson's a badass. Their defensemen are good 2-way defensive players. Like I said, to me, Sweden at plus 450. I tweeted out earlier, Babano, if I had to take one team to win this thing, and like from a betting perspective, I'll take my chances with Sweden. Like, I would rather Sweden at plus 450 than Canada at plus 125.
So I agree with that. And Sweden at plus 450 is appealing to me. But the one I like the most and the team I think is going to win is the U.S. I just really like what I'm seeing from the U.S. roster. on paper. They're loaded up front, and they've got guys that are all having great years. Kyle Connor's having a great year. Kachuk's having a great year. Boldy's been awesome. Hughes has been awesome. Austin Matthews, he's been out, so that his numbers aren't as good. He's had some injury problems, and then he's got 2 goals tonight for Toronto. Don't worry about him. He'll be fine when that tournament rolls around. Their defense is very good. You know what I like? They've got size. They are a very big team up and down the lineup, and in fact, they've got a big size advantage over Canada. The one thing you'll say about Canada's forwards, a little bit smaller in stature, and that could be something that maybe tilts the scale a little bit for the U.S. Going into this tournament. Their D is solid. The goaltending is certainly solidified with Ottinger being and Hellebuck being their top 2 guys. So this U.S. team, and I think this is a continuation of what we've seen from USA Hockey from winning the World Junior Gold Medal. This is a country that is going to be very good in this sport and continuing to get better for years to come. I do like them to win this event.
USA Hockey actually has dominated international hockey for about the last 5 years. Like the under 16s, under 18s, women's, this and that. Like USA Hockey, this is the golden year, so to speak. You see it with the top draft picks. You see the growth of NCAA hockey, and not to mention Babano too. Man, you got the Hughes brothers playing together, right? You got the Kachuk brothers playing together. So like, there's a familiarity. They have heart as well. Like you said, they're gritty. They're super fast. You got speed guys. You got a bunch of snipers here, JT Miller, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes. You got the grinders. You got Jake Gensel. You got Kyle Connor. You got Jack Eichel. You got Brock Nelson. I guess defensively, I'd say, you know what, that'd be the one spot. I think, you know what I mean? You would say, all right, they're not perfect on defense, but their goaltending rock solid as well, Babano. Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, and Jeremy Swayman. I think it would be Hellebuck and battle with Hellebuck and Ottinger. But so you right now, and we're still a little bit of ways away, but right now you're saying that USA wins this thing at plus 200.
That would be my choice, definitely right now. Plus 200. For value, I don't mind the Sweden value, but I actually like the value on Finland, quite honestly, plus 700. I like how they defend. They're going to be a tough score against. They're going to be in some low-scoring games, but they've got a little bit more offense to maybe have that game-breaking goal in some of these close, lower-scoring games with some of the forwards that they are going to have on this particular roster. I thought Finland should have been priced a little closer to Sweden, quite honestly, than they are. More around the 5-1 range rather than the 7.5 to 1 range. So I do like Finland at plus 700 for my longer shot.
And Team Canada is very top-heavy, but not as much depth, in my opinion, as the United States. But you've got star power at the top: Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon.
The best top 6 in the tournament, bar none, is Canada on paper.
Yeah, but also Canada are older, though. This is another thing. Canada are older, but it doesn't really matter. It's a weak tournament, right? So, but they are older. Their defense, you got Cale Makar, Josh Morrissey, Pietrangelo, Sanheim, Devon Toews, Shea Theodore. The big thing that I didn't bring up Mitch Marner, Brad Marchand on the team. The only one, people were talking about that was sort of the surprise, I guess, would be Seth Jarvis on this hockey team. But that was like the big topic after the roster was announced.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. Brad Marchand, there was talk about because he struggled, but do you have to give him maybe still? You got to put a guy that's
you need some grit
for years.
You need some grit, and like he's that room guy, Babano. He's the sandpaper in that room. He's the guy that'll do something dirty on the ice that the other guys won't do.
You know what's pretty crazy is Sportsnet threw up the list of snubs, the list of omissions for Team Canada, and I didn't see Stuart Skinner. I didn't see him on there. I didn't see Jamie Benn on there. These are guys that I thought would have been at least considered, and they didn't even get on the list of notable omissions, those two guys.
You're right. Skinner played well in the playoffs last year. He went to the Stanley Cup final. He went to a Game 7. I think the inconsistency factor hurt him. Yeah. And I guess the other one was sort of Nick Suzuki's a player that some people thought should have been on the team, right? Or like over Jarvis.
Yeah.
Because he does so many different things.
Could have been on the States, and people thought maybe he should have been on the USA.
And, the States, that shows how deep the States are. The States said no to the youth, Babano? Like Tage Thompson, Cole Caulfield? Nope, you're not on the team. Tage Thompson, another one, Buffalo Sabre.
Yes, exactly. You wonder if last year's struggles hurt him a little bit, Tage Thompson, but he's had a better year this year, but didn't make it.
And not that he was deserving of it, but I think a lot of us, it was talked a lot about Connor Bedard would probably be on this team, right? And not even really in the conversation. And nobody's saying, oh, he should have been on the team.
No,
he didn't deserve to be on the team, right? And he played for Canada in the World Junior Championship, guys, which is kind of if you want to be on Team Canada, you got to show your loyalty to them. Like, you can't just put your hand up like when it's a big-time tournament. Bedard showed his loyalty. He played in the World Juniors. He got, the Blackhawks were eliminated. He got on a plane. He went to Europe. He played for Canada. But you know what this means, Babano? He's not going to be on the Olympic team next year now either. Like, that's somewhat like you would have pictured by then, you know what I mean? Like his career trajectory that he would be on the Olympic team. But if you're not on this team, you're not going to be on the Olympic team, Babano. Just point blank. Unless the kid goes out and scores 40 goals in between now and then.
If Bedard
if he
really
scores like 40 goals
next year, maybe I think they could change that. But he's going to have to work for it. There's no question.
All right, Ian Cameron kicking it with us. So it'll be a fun tournament. The games are only in 2 cities. If anyone wants to go, they're in Montreal and they're in Boston. They picked 2 good hockey cities to put this in. So Montreal and Boston, both these cities will be rocking. USA are playing Canada Saturday night in Montreal, February the 15th. That's going to be a fun night. But don't forget, guys. Yeah. That's going to be, dude, that's going to be like 500 more to get in. But, dude, this doesn't matter, Babano. It's a scrimmage for the Olympics next year. You know what I mean?
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
All right, let's roll. Let's talk some college football. We were talking some college football earlier with Babano, with Bovey, but let's talk with Babano right now. Let's get right after it. Friday night's games: Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State. These two teams just played, but it didn't mean anything for Jacksonville State, and they were geared up for this game. They knew they were already hosting this game, but now they're laying 5 coming off the loss. The total's 57.5. We got Tulane now laying 5 against Army. on Friday night in New York at Army. Massive game for the Black Knights. It was 6. Now it's 5. 45.5 is the total. And the game of the night, UNLV and Boise State in Boise, Idaho, Friday night. It's up to 4 right now. And the total's 57.5. What do you think about Friday's card, Babano?
So I think I could only lay the points with Jacksonville State. Their run game is what carries the offense, and Western Kentucky does not have a good run defense. And I know there's questions about the health of Tyler Huff, the quarterback for Jacksonville State, but that's not going to, I think, affect their ability to run the football very well. Western Kentucky struggled with that. Rich Rod there gets this game at home. I would lay the 5 with Jacksonville State. Tulane Army is tough because John Summerall coached two teams in the past in 3 games facing a triple option offense have given up a combined 9 points in the 3 games. He has been a great job shutting down the triple option, but I just saw Tulane. Yeah, I just saw Tulane get ripped apart, though, on the ground against Memphis, a team that's not even that great running the football. So I'm a little conflicted, but I was leaning Army initially, but, man, I was scared off a little bit by looking at those results and the success that John Summerall, and this includes when he was at Troy before he got the Tulane job, how good he has been defending the triple option. I mean, 9 points allowed in 3 games against option teams. That's pretty damn dominant. So I'd lean under, actually, in that Tulane Army game. And then the last game, I'm giving a shot with UNLV, plus the points. I know they lost the regular season game, Gabe, to Boise at Allegiant Stadium. And I know in that blue turf, Friday night won't be easy. But Boise didn't look their best down the stretch. You know, the Oregon State game, they let the Beavers hang around. They barely beat Wyoming. San Jose State was a misleading final score with San Jose State in that game in the fourth quarter. I think Boise played their best football early in the season. They're not necessarily playing as well here down the stretch. I think that's a field goal game. I'll take a chance there with UNLV plus 4.
We got Iowa State and Arizona State. Winner is going to the playoffs. I don't know if UNLV will get in if they win. I think they should. They would deserve to be honest, if they beat Boise State, but people aren't expecting them to, so it's not really being talked about much. But this one's more clear-cut. Iowa State, Arizona State, the winner is in the college football playoffs. Arizona State are 2-point favorites. This game is at the Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Jerry's World. Iowa State, of course, just coming off the big win against Kansas State, in which they locked down 10 wins for the first time in school history. Arizona State absolutely destroyed Arizona, had a scrimmage and a walkthrough last week. What are your thoughts on this one? This is an interesting game and a contrast of styles here. I do think, though, from a betting perspective, the 49.5 is too low. Right? We just saw K-State. Me and Bovey talked about it. You saw K-State move the ball on Iowa State's defense. I think Iowa State will be able to move the ball on Arizona State. 49.5 is too low, Babano. I think this game will definitely get into the 50s, but who do you think wins the game?
Yeah, I'm with you as the total for the total. I think it's a little light. I still like Arizona State. Now, they are without their best receiver. He got injured in the game against Arizona, and unfortunately got injured in the second half when it was already a blowout. So that's what makes that even worse for ASU. But I still think the Sun Devils can overcome that. Maybe it's some bias on my part because I've won a lot of bets this year with Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham's team. They've been very good to me. They've got Cam Scadaboo, one of the best running backs in college football, and Iowa State's not been good against the run. We're talking 160 rushing yards allowed, closer to the 90th ranking in run defense. It's not what you want to see trying to tackle that big guy who's been absolutely tremendous for Arizona State. And I think ASU can still get this job done here on Saturday.
These games
I
are
also like
ABC.
Sam Leavitt, their quarterback, just a little more than Rocco Becht, just a little bit. I think Leavitt's a really good quarterback for them.
All these games on ABC. That game's on ABC. Then you got the Georgia-Texas game, ABC, leading into Clemson and SMU on ABC on Saturday night. So Georgia and Texas have already played. Georgia rolled them in Austin. Here's another total, 49.5. And anyone who watches Georgia Bulldog games knows, man, they don't play a lot of games to go under 49.5. Like, they usually score in the 40s, and they give up a chunk of points as well. You know, Georgia's defense, Babano, was really good on paper for most of the season, but You can move the ball on them. Texas's offense has been inconsistent, but Texas's defense has been elite. Some people question Texas's schedule that they played. I think Texas are the real deal. And this game, this would be pretty psychologically damaging, actually, if you're Texas and you lose this game. Like, even if you still get into the playoffs, you don't want to lose this game. You want to go into this on a roll. What are your thoughts on the Bulldogs and the Longhorns rematch in Atlanta?
I think Texas is going to get them this time. I just do. Hook them. I know Georgia dominated them in Austin earlier this year, but there's a couple things I don't like for Georgia. They were off that physical warfare against Georgia Tech last week. That was a physical game. That was an exhausting game. It took 4.5 hours of real time to
8
complete that
overtimes.
game. Yeah, and now you got to come back and you got to face a Texas team that is coming off the game where I think I've seen them. I don't think I've seen them dominate the line of scrimmage physically more than they did against Texas A&M last week. I was very impressed with their front seven on defense. I was impressed with their O-line, and after a physical, just a physical battle in the trenches with Georgia Tech last week, to turn around and play this game is going to be difficult. What I would do if I'm Sark, and if I think this way, I'm hoping he does, put some kind of Arch Manning package in there, because the quarterback run game with Haynes King last week really, really gave Georgia problems. And I think you've got to put that in. Quinn Ewers, he's a little more athletic than Quinn. I think that would be a good thing to do for Texas's chances here.
I think it's a good call, actually, and I would expect that. People that call for Arch Manning to play more, it's weird to say. It's crazy that you have a Manning, the quarterback, that can only run the ball right now. He can throw it, but they're more comfortable with him just running it. He's freaking fast for a Manning.
She was recruited to Oregon partially by, guess who? Mark Campbell and Xavi Lopez. They know what they're doing. And I'm going to say this right now, folks. I'm going to say this right now. Mark Campbell is one of the 5 to 10 best coaches in women's college basketball right now.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
All right, we're into the home stretch right now. The Dallas Stars and the LA Kings are tied at 2 going into the third period of play. We played 2 periods of play in Orange County as well. Vegas are up 2-1 on the Ducks. In-game total's 5.5 there, and in-game total 6.5 in the Kings and the Stars. All right, so we're looking at a couple of minutes here. We're talking about the conference championship football games. And Clemson play against SMU on Saturday night in Charlotte. So this game's in Charlotte, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And last week, Babano, I don't know if you saw it, but before the earlier in the week, Dabo Swinney was running his mouth about how, like, that South Carolina don't matter, and when you talk about football in the state of South Carolina, they talk about Clemson, and he was like, put my name on that, and I'm not going to walk that back. And he was talking big, and he's always complaining about the rankings and this and that, and then he goes out and they lose to South Carolina. Now, this week, he's talking about winning the national championship, right? He's saying, oh, you know what, wouldn't it be something, if a what would you all say now if a 3-loss team, we're going to go out there and win a national championship? And I'm thinking, dude, worry about beating SMU, but let alone winning the national championship. Clemson haven't won a big game in a little while. They beat bad teams, Clemson. They're the kings of this, and I like their win total coming into the year, Babano, and I told people I thought Clemson were going to make the playoffs, and people kind of rolled their eyes, and I said, dude, they win like 10 games every year. Like, they've won double-digit games like 13 of the last 14 years. They had one bad year, but they're not as good as they used to be. Like, they don't win like they can get there. They're like a UFC fighter, you know what I mean, Babano, that can beat all the, you know what I mean? They can work their way up the ladder, but once they get into that contender fight where the winner gets the champ, they'll lose. And then they have to do it all over again. The thing is, SMU haven't played anybody. So I don't really know how good SMU are, Babano. I mean, they're good, you know, like I said, what's SMU's best win? BYU? Like, SMU literally dodged a lot of bullets on their schedule this year. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but I guess we'll find out here in this game. This is a tough game to pick because I think SMU are better than Clemson, but, you know, Clemson have more talent than they do. So what's your pick on that one? This is a really tough one.
Yeah, it is because of the strength of schedule dynamic, which is clearly in Clemson's favor. But at the same time, the eye test from watching 12 games of football for both of these teams, that I think SMU is a better team. I just do. I like Kevin Jennings a lot more than Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik had that little stretch where he was lighting it up against some bad teams and bad defenses, but now we're starting to see him struggle again down the stretch when he had to play South Carolina. Even the Pitt game, they should have lost against Pitt. They didn't play that well on offense in that game against Pittsburgh, Clemson's offense. They were lucky as hell to get out of that with a win. Meanwhile, SMU, you can only beat who you played, and when you look at them, they're demolishing these teams. Pitt, BC, Virginia, Cal. The Duke game was close. That was their scare. But Manny Diaz did a great job turning around Duke. Every game, really. They went to Louisville, who beat Clemson. Think about that. They went to Louisville, who beat Clemson, and they beat Louisville 34-27 as a 6.5-point dog. I'm siding with SMU here. I just am. The eye test tells me I think they're the better offense. I think their defenses are. Clemson is pretty good on defense. It's pretty close there between the two teams, that side of the ball. But I do think they have the better offense, the better quarterback. I'll take my chances with that. Give me SMU.
It would be unbelievable if they win this game. Like I said, all these newcomers coming into these conferences, and Florida State sued the ACC, and part of their lawsuit stating that letting SMU in would lower the power ranking and ratings and dilute the product because they said SMU weren't good enough for the ACC, and now the SMU are knocking on it. But that's the one that I have almost the toughest with. Texas, Georgia is a tough one. They're all tough, actually. The last one here, we got to get out of here, but the last one, this is the one I'm most confident in, besides some of these other overs that I like. But I don't think Penn State. I think the Ducks are going to roll Penn State here. I'm not saying they're going to kill them. They don't have to kill them, but I think they're going to beat them by more than 3.5 points.
There's a not so big game, James Franklin. There's not a chance I'm taking him in a game of magnitude. So, yeah, I'm with you. Oregon or nothing for me.
The game is in the Midwest. It's a travel spot for the Ducks, but the Ducks really haven't shown the Ducks have been like a pro team. They're systematic on a weekly basis, and they're looking to run the table here. Right. I know it's like they could lose and be in the playoffs still, but they want to go undefeated, and they want to get the top seed. All right, we'll see you on 8 o'clock tomorrow night for the football game. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.